Malibu Moon is a horse you can believe in. The reason I love Malibu Moon is that he has produced winners and stakes winners at every level. In our opinion, the best stallion in Kentucky was AP Indy, and he is AP Indy's best son at stud.
Hi everybody, welcome to Weekend Wrap. Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, Mike Beer, taking a look back at last Friday's Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks. Our Kentucky Oaks coverage is presented by Spendthrift. They break from the gate, gentlemen, a fast pace from the beginning. The favorite, Paradise Woods, the number 4, not fooling around, Flavien Prat, he's going after it. And Paco Lopez doesn't leave him alone with Miss Sky Warrior in the pink silks.
You know, the post position draw in this race, I think, did a lot here, where Flavien down in post 4, that was speed nearest the rail, I think they kind of had to go on with it, and apparently the connections for Miss Sky Warrior made it clear, Kelly Breen, we were going to take it to the favorite. Whether it worked or not, we were going to find out. Well, unfortunately for them, it didn't work, but I think she ran a pretty good race.
Mike, do you think if they could do it over again, Kelly Breen, Paco Lopez, they'd maybe just sit a little bit, because this is a legitimate pace. 22 and 3, 46 and 1 for the half.
Too fast, and it turns into a classic meltdown race with the closers down. I mean, I don't know what... You know, I don't know, Dan. It's a sort of a tough position to be in with a horse like her, because you can't really turn Paradise Woods loose on the lead and expect to chase her down. I mean, I think this is what you're supposed to do. You have a horse with speed, you think she's good, you race the horse to beat and see what happens.
Matt Farrell seemingly in a very nice spot, sitting in third, watching this duel percolate up front. She has nothing when the real racing begins.
Farrell, for me, is the disappointment in this entire race, simply because she really kind of got the run of the race, and she just absolutely dropped anchor right about now.
The pace now really heating up, and you see Abel Tasman on those orange silks on the far outside, creeping up from the back of the pack, going to come widest. Miss Sky Warrior has taken the measure of the favorite, Paradise Woods, but she's on fumes right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, it's kind of like, okay, she won the battle, but she's going to lose the war here, and you got Abel Tasman, she's hanging on her left lead, takes her a while to change over. I really think the horse to keep an eye on in this entire thing is Salty, because she still finished very, very well. She's in those pink and black silks, but she just got stopped at the top of the lane.
Abel Tasman, it took her a while to change leads. Now she has done so. On the outside comes Daddy's Little Darlin'. Lockdown, I thought, had a little bit of trouble as well, Mike. She was jammed up down towards the inside horses. This was not a bad effort for her.
Yeah, she ran well in this race. I agree with you. She was sort of down towards the inside. Now, I feel like that was probably where you wanted to be most of the day in her, but maybe not in a race like this. It was just falling apart. She ran well. I agree with Matt. I thought Salty got stopped just for an instant at the top of the stretch. I think it affected her. It was funny to watch that race, the run through the second turn, too, because Daddy's Little Darling, who runs second in here, she was kept on hold through that second turn, and the winner moved right by her to get first run, and then she finished well for second. I'm not so sure what Leperoux was doing there. He could have got first run on this horse.
Yeah, she was ahead of Abel Tasman on the turn, and folks, when you get a chance to rewind it and watch it back, you'll notice that Abel Tasman sort of loops Daddy's Little Darling while she's in behind horses, and the next thing you know, that tactical advantage, poof, it's gone. Daddy's Little Darling, you know, with her running style, she can't afford to have any kind of issues, and it was a great ride by Smith to put Leperoux in that box.
Yeah, it really was, and again, that's why Mike Smith, when on the biggest stages, seems like he makes all the right calls. It'll be interesting for me anyway with Daddy's Little Darling going forward. Keep in mind, this is predominantly a turf pedigree, and yeah, okay, the wet track, she's run fine on dry tracks in the past, but I don't know, this was the first time she'd run fast, relatively fast.
Right.
I don't know if I entirely, like, I liked her a little bit, but I don't know that I entirely trust her going forward on a dry track.
Right, and if nothing else, even if this was the best race she ever ran, I mean, this is how, you know, she's supposed to do all her damage. A big, huge pace in front of you. It totally falls apart in the stretch, and she's running at the end.
Abel Tasman's by a red-hot stallion in Quality Road, who stands for $35,000 at Lane's End. Abel Tasman was a $65,000 buyback as a yearling. The China Horse Club bought a piece after this horse won the Starlet last year. She's a half to another graded stakes winner at Churchill Downs, a runner named Sky Girl from the family of graded winners Bevo and Moonlight Sonata. Okay, now we have to talk about the favorite. Paradise Woods looked so good in winning the Santa Anita Oaks with a 107 Beyer speed figure. They were throwing a lot at her here. Ship all the way across the country, stretch out to 1 1/8, sealed sloppy track, ridiculously fast pace. I know you were disappointed with the rapid reaction once the race is over. You've had some time to think about it. Are you willing to give her, you know, to forgive her for this performance?
I'm still disappointed in it. I'm not saying it's nearly the disaster I kind of felt immediately after the race on Friday, just because the pace was ballistic and she just came apart. The thing that I'm probably most disappointed with, you're still supposed to outfinish Miss Sky Warrior, in my opinion. If you are what I thought you were, you're still really talented. I'm not arguing that. I'm still a little bit disappointed. And Mandela afterwards said, maybe that Santa Anita Oaks took a little bit more out of her than I thought. For me, again, she had circumstances go against her. I still expected her to do a little bit more.
Time to regroup now for Paradise Woods from the Mandela barn. I'm sure they'll give her a little bit of a break after this effort. We were really high on her after that race. We were really comparing her and somewhat favorably to Unique Bella. Where is she now?
We'll find out, I guess. I'll say this: wherever she shows up next, I want her. I want her in her next race because I still think she's a really good horse.
Let's talk about Vexatious. It seems always a bridesmaid, never a bride for Vexatious. She shows up each and every time with a good effort. She gave yet another good effort, this time at 40-1, beaten less than 5 lengths for all the money. You gotta think there's a race for her somewhere, Matt.
I guess the thing that was a little bit disappointing for me, it seemed like she actually had sort of the jump on all of the closers, and she came from a pretty advantageous position where she wasn't that close to the pace. She was sort of mid toward 3/4, and I thought she just kind of flattened out down the lane. Not a bad effort by any stretch, but I wonder again. She'd be the kind of horse I wouldn't mind seeing the Black-Eyed Susan.
Sailor's Valentine outran her odds again. After winning the Ashland at Keeneland, she was relatively close to the pace. She was sort of in the same spot as Lockdown was after about a half mile or so, and she didn't finish with the same panache as Lockdown. But all in all, a good, solid, even performance for a filly. It's probably not a true Grade 1 horse.
Probably did the best that she could. She was closer to the pace than a lot of these horses, but not right up on it. All the closers just came right by her through the stretch. This is probably the best she could do.
How much do you downgrade the closers simply because they had the run of the race? I mean, Abel Tasman came from last, Daddy's Little Darling came from 11th, Lockdown, Vexatious, Salty 8th, 9th, 13th respectively after the first call. Is this a race where it's a pace special and you say next time out, boy, Abel Tasman, very nice performance, closers, very nice performances, but at a short price, who knows what happens in a more fair scenario?
So, I mean, certainly with Abel Tasman and Daddy's Little Darling, I think especially, because they've sort of shown themselves to be one-run closers. I think they're both good horses, though. Something to just keep in mind. You know that they had all the best of it here. Maybe next time, wherever they show up, they won't have the best of it. But other horses, Lockdown, Salty, Vexatious, they aren't deep one-run closers to me. I think they all ran well in this race.
I'm sort of in the middle because Friday at Churchill, Speed was king. Speed went so far, and yeah, they did go really fast early on, but these horses came in kind of against the grain. I agree, downgrade them, but I don't know that I'm going to completely say, you know what, they had just the run of the race and that's how it was. They certainly did, but they also did a little bit of running against the grain of the track, and as we talked about, I think the 2 Speed horses, you got to give the benefit of the doubt.
Any other hidden trips in here, or horses that were really compromised by that wet track and just didn't seem to handle it?
I didn't see anyone. I didn't see anyone who I felt like just got really unlucky with the trip. I feel like the best horses probably, save Paradise Woods and Miss Sky Warrior, because they're 2 good horses too, but I feel like the best horses who had the best trips, they're the ones who did the running in here.
Salty, I want to give her another shot just because she did get stopped at a pretty critical point in the running. I would love to know what happened with Farrell because she had the run of the race. I was questioning her coming into the race to begin with, but if you believed in her, I mean, didn't she have the perfect position, and she didn't even just stop. She came to a call.
Yeah, it wasn't even just that she didn't finish at all.
It was done.
It was just that she didn't even make a run at it.
No.
You know, she never made a run at those 2 horses when they were tired through the turn. She was disappointed.
And all we've been hearing was likes a wet track, likes Churchill Downs, was in a nice spot. I mean, she didn't have to win, but she shouldn't run last. Miss Sky Warrior, the rumor was she threw a shoe at some point in the race. She still made the front. I'm not going to hold that as an excuse. She was really exhausted at the end of this race. I thought Lockdown, though, ran well. She had to run up behind that 60-1 shot. Jordan's Henny was in a box, but as Mike mentioned, maybe down on an advantageous part in the race, and certainly late when she was able to alter course down on the rail. But I wonder if maybe she's sort of a summertime filly for Bill Mott in New York.
She's got a nice pedigree, too. I think she's okay this horse.
I also wonder, too, with any of these horses that ran career best numbers, wet track, I'm always going to be, prove back to me that you can do it on a fast track.
Certainly a fair point there. 92 Beyer speed figure for Abel Tasman, now trained by Bob Baffert. Mike Smith, off of a blistering fast pace, wins the Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks.